morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever it is. We hope that it is good for you. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Season 2, Episode 3 of Geeks Who Like Sports. As always, I am Ray Carcillo in beautiful Los Angeles, California. Join my best friend in the entire world over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the heart of the sports world right now. Lee Elias. Lee, how's it going today?
Can you hear my heart thumping, Ray? Dun dun Phillies, dun dun Eagles, dun dun Flyers, dun dun Sixers, dun dun Union. Yeah, it is a powerful time to be a Philadelphia fan, much to everyone's dismay, but we don't care. Isn't that wonderful? Ray, I got a question for you.
Yes.
This is something that's unique about the show. I make several inconsequential geek decisions every week. It's not like once a year. It's like weekly I have geek decisions to make. And I realized the other day, I was like, wait a minute. I have a live platform where I can share these questions with other people, including my best friend, so that they understand that it's okay to be a geek who likes sports. Ray, this is an important question. I've been wearing these Captain America headphones for years. They're falling apart. After every episode, there's something on. It is time to retire the Captain America headphones. And I have two options to pick from here, Ray. We have Spider-Man Miles Morales headphones, for those of you listening, and the spiders on the side light up, or a brand new Avengers headphone set that has Captain America and Iron Man. It looks like other people are showcased on here, but I think it's just those two. Ray, you must choose. Do I do Miles Morales with a light up side, or go classic Iron Man, Captain America headphones?
I am a sucker for lights on anything. Ooh. And it is also the new Spider-Man game is dropping in about 3 days from now.
That makes sense.
It is Spider-Man season. So I think Spidey is the way to go right now.
And it says here, high quality sound, LED light up, comfortable ear cushions. How can they better be? Right? Yeah. This isn't an ad. This is just something I had to choose this week. All of you listening will understand this debate because I had to pick. And I was in a position, Ray, where I saw them. I was like, I can get both of them and talk about it on the show. But now I'm stuck with an extra pair of headphones. So either it's going to go to my kids or one of you might win them if you email us or DM us or say something like, hey, Lee, I'd love to look at those headphones. Maybe we'll talk about it.
Yeah, actually, I mean, since you mentioned that we're giving those stuff away, I was going to save it for later in the show. But I, of course, am also wearing one of our classic Geeks Who Like Sports t-shirts.
For those of you listening, it looks like Ray and me if you combined us. It's an 8-bit hockey player with Ray's face.
Yeah,
and somehow, Ray, it really does look like you. It's a little bit.
Yeah. But yeah, so we are also giving away 10 of these.
10.
Beautiful t-shirts.
We go big or go home.
Yes.
Or you go
so
home.
All you have to do is, obviously, if you're listening to us, you're probably already following us, but make sure you're definitely following and subscribed here to the podcast on Spotify or iTunes or wherever else you're listening to us. Also, follow us on YouTube, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. More chances to win. And comment. You got to comment.
Yeah, you got to comment. So to get the shirt, check out our Instagram. It's GWLS Podcast on Instagram. Yeah. You got to like that post there and just leave a little comment there. We do some great stuff on Instagram you don't get right in the episode. So if you are an avid listener, you'll love what we do there. But yeah, if you want to get yourself a shirt, all right, get yourself a shirt. We got them. We can get them to you. Go to Instagram, follow the directions, and you can get a geek shirt. What an intro. That was a good intro.
That was a good intro. Look at that. We're giving away headphones, maybe. We're giving away t-shirts. Look at that.
Yeah, that's how we hook you, people. We give stuff away. Now, here's the other thing. You got to listen to the whole episode.
Yeah. There's a lot. It's a big episode this week, folks. We got a lot to go over in both the geek side and the sports side. But we're kicking things off. We're kicking things off with baseball playoffs. Lee mentioned his Phillies. They are up 1-0 in the NLCS after bludgeoning Zach Gallen and the Diamondbacks. First pitch of the game, a Schwarber bomb, 117 miles an hour off the bat.
Ray, I got to tell you, this is no joke, and I have witnesses. I was sitting there last night before the game because Schwarber did not do anything in the Atlanta series. I think he was 2 for 16 or something like that. And I turned to my son, and I said, Logan, I said, Kyle Schwarber's going to hit a home run at his first at bat this game. It was first pitch, boom, and I said, against Schwarber. Logan's going nuts. How did you know? I'm like, I have a sense for these things, son. You'll learn one day.
Yeah. He'll get it too.
Actually happened.
Yeah, unbelievable. Phillies up 1-0, Texas up 2-0 after handling Houston. Jordan Montgomery, former Yankee, and Nathan Eovaldi, former Yankee, doing fantastically for the Rangers, and their bullpen held on despite a late push against the Aroldis Chapman, former Yankee. And basically, Texas is up 2-0 heading back to Arlington. Lee, what are your thoughts on the baseball playoffs so far, the ALCS and the NLCS?
Well, look, it's cliche, and I don't usually do this, but I think we need to pat ourselves on the back. This is going very similar to the way we predicted it. We had said if Texas got past the Orioles and the Phillies got past the Braves, we believe that will be the matchup in the World Series. Now, listen, long way to go. Long way to go. As excited as Philadelphia is right now, and I'm sure Texas is as well. They play 7 games for a reason, and you have to be focused. There's every reason to believe that the Diamondbacks come back and take some games here if the Phillies let down. I will tell you this about both the Phillies and Texas. When you watch these games, there is a look on their faces that I do not see on their opponents. Okay. Houston has a look of, we've been here before, we know what to do. But Texas has a look of, we're going to kill you for what you did to us the last game of the season.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, for costing us the bye, which we'll get into a bit.
When I look at the Phillies and the Diamondbacks, and again, I may be out of line in saying this, but it's
I was just about to say that. They look like they're happy to be there.
Right. And the Phillies look like, we're going to murder you because we need to win the World Series this year.
Yeah, so, the Phillies look like they're on a mission, and you mentioned the Diamondbacks and that they're happy to be there. Lee, did you hear Merrill Kelly's comments this morning? By the way,
no,
about for the Diamondbacks as a starting pitcher. Let me tell you this, because I'm sure you're gonna love this. So Merrill Kelly, of course, pitched in the World Baseball Classic this year, and basically said, as loud as Philadelphia has been, I don't think they'll be louder than the game was that we had against Venezuela.
Don't challenge us.
How stupid was Merrill Kelly on the day that he's pitching to make that comment about the Philadelphia Philly fan base?
I don't know when people are going to learn. Do not poke the bear.
He poked 45,000 bears.
Yeah, or as Bryce Harper says, 45,009, right? Because he says there's a T-shirt with that on it. Look, I'll tell you this. This is again a true story. When we were playing against Atlanta, and it was said, attaboy, Bryce.
Yes.
I remember my brother and I were like, "Thank you for doing that." And then he said he wasn't supposed to hear it. I was like, "Thank you for doing that." Do not. I want to try and say this in a non-cocky way. I really am. And Ray knows me. I'm capable of doing that. I know the Philadelphia fan base. Okay, it's a rabid bunch that is hungry to win, and they know their sports. You can hate on them all you want and they do get too passionate at times. But they feel like they're part of the team, and in a lot of ways they are this year. Do not give them a reason to cheer against you.
I was going to say, do not. It's bad to give your opponent fodder anyway in almost any scenario in any city.
Poke the bear.
But boy, doing it to Philly, that is tenfold worse in my opinion. Merrill Kelly, you are. We'll see how it goes tonight for you, boss. But that was dumb as of right.
I just don't give him a reason. Look, I remember. I think it was Shaq talking about, he'd make up lies about players on the other team just to get mad at them so he could compete. Ray, I always say this kind of in the world I work in. People do not understand, by and large, how competitive professional athletes are. All right. People go, no, I get it. They're competitive. You do not understand how competitive these people are. It is their profession, and they're professionals at it. And they get paid hundreds of millions of dollars to do it. They're more competitive than you. Right? You give these guys a reason. They need the reason. They want the reason. Bryce Harper looks like the Terminator every time I see him right now. And he's backing it up. He's got 4 home runs in the postseason. Happy birthday, by the way, Bryce, 31.
Yes, hit a solo home run on his 31st birthday in game 1.
And then Nick Castellanos did it again. Kyle Schwarber did. They look determined beyond belief. I'm going to say this again, though. They're going to win this thing till they're not. Right? You know what I mean?
Right.
So the belief is gone. And it's on the Diamondbacks now to, if they can steal one in Philly tonight, obviously we're recording this right before the game on Tuesday, October 17th. That's a huge deal. Huge deal. Do I think they're going to? I don't know.
I would have said, I don't know either, but after Merrill Kelly's comments this morning, I feel like it's almost a foregone conclusion now he's going to get shellacked.
Here's the deal. If the Phillies win one game in Arizona, assuming that they don't get swept here.
Yeah, if the Phillies win game 2 and they take one in Arizona, the series is over.
I don't see how the Arizona is going to come back on that.
Yeah, series is over. I agree wholeheartedly.
And as much as I'd like a rematch as a Phillies fan of Houston, Philadelphia, I don't want
Philly, Texas would be better for baseball.
It's a better matchup, and I don't want Houston in the World Series again. I just don't want to see it. I'm tired of it.
Yeah. Now that brings us into our next topic. Of course, we mentioned that the Houston Astros last game of the season took the division away from the Texas Rangers and earned the bye. The Astros, of course, are the only team to have gotten a bye, to have advanced this far. And actually, in both the last 2 years, the only team to have gotten a bye and advanced. Some folks are now saying that the bye is bad for baseball. Lee...
Such a baseball thing to say.
Can we just say it's a bunch of bullshit?
Can we just say that? No, I'm going to say it. Listen, people that say the buys are bad, and again, like you said, right, the justification is these teams are resting too long. No, that is a traditionalist view, and it's time to flush it down the toilet.
Yeah.
Baseball needs to change if that's the way you're thinking. You need to pick a team and prepare a team that is better prepared to play playoff baseball, which is different than regular season baseball.
Yep.
Right? If we were in Europe and the league championship mattered, we wouldn't be having this discussion. All right. Because they'd celebrate the regular season championship like it mattered. We probably should do that a little bit more in America, but we don't. Postseason baseball is a different monster. And if you are not, as a manager and a GM, creating a team that can compete in that atmosphere, you're going to lose. Not to mention, no excuses. The Astros are there. They have more adversity than anybody.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And then you look at other sports. Hockey builds teams for the playoffs. Basketball, you better know that they build teams for the playoffs. Football, you better know how to win a one-game sting or you're out. So baseball needs to stray. I did want to change this too. I'm sorry, say this. I'm getting excited. I'm slurring my words because I'm excited. Spencer Strider, the pitcher for the Braves.
I was about to say this too. Yes.
I want to give him a lot of credit.
Yep.
Because we ripped them apart the other night. All right. And he's a competitor, and he took full accountability for his team and basically saying that, no, I'm not blaming it on the bye. You either know how to be competitive this time of year or you don't, and we weren't. I'm obviously putting that into different terms than he said. So, no, baseball needs to change. I will tell you one change I would like to see, Ray. I would like to see different divisional alignments. I would not be against, the American League and the National League just being 16 teams and the top, 6 or 8 make it. Yeah. I think it's time to do that. I think things have changed now. Before interleague play, I understood the divisions a lot.
Sure.
All right. Yeah. So I think that either you look at doing that or you go to football and you have your 4-team divisions, which I think would be a bit much, but and
I was going to say that baseball is probably waiting to expand to 32 teams. There's been talk about that now for several years. And I would imagine by the end of the decade that will happen.
100%.
I think once baseball has 32 teams, that would be the time for realignment and that's possibly 8 4-team divisions, just like football.
Yeah. Like I said, I wouldn't mind if they led the way of just, there's the American League and there's the National League and the top 6 or top 8 make it. I wouldn't have a problem with that. That's how it used to
be. You want to talk about tradition? That's how it used to be way back when.
Traditionalists would love that, wouldn't they? But no, there's nothing wrong with the MLB playoffs. I said it on the episode before. I feel like they fixed the MLB playoffs.
Agreed.
We've come a long way from just the division winners playing against the wild card team. I never liked that. You knew halfway through the season if you were out. Now, at any point, half the teams are in the playoffs race.
Yeah.
All right. Baseball actually did something good here.
Yeah.
Especially with the best of 3, not the best of 1.
Yes.
I love it. 3, 5, 7, 7 playoffs.
Yeah.
Don't touch this. MLB and traditionalists, you can find another way to do this.
Yes. Yeah. No, this is the best thing that baseball has done in a very long time.
Little rant there. That was like a minor rant.
There you go. Yeah. Speaking of baseball playoffs, one team that missed it, they fell apart there at the end of the season, was the San Francisco Giants. And Gabe Kapler, their manager, was let go, relieved of his duties the last week of the season because of that. Once they were officially eliminated, they finished I think 2 games under 500. The Giants, they were in a wild card position for most of the year, but really did have a September collapse. Not quite Mets level collapse that we're used to, but it was definitely they definitely kind of went on the schneid there at the worst possible time. Well, Alyssa Nakin, and I hope I'm saying that correctly. She is an assistant coach and a first base coach for the San Francisco Giants, and is now the first woman to ever be interviewed for the full-time managerial position for a Major League Ball club. She was one of the first people interviewed for that open position for the Giants, and we want to obviously congratulate her. This is a big deal. This is a great thing for baseball, and to every idiot out there who says that a bunch of guys in the dugouts would never listen to a woman, then clearly you've never been married, or but I'm bummed. No, but seriously, honestly, if it helps them win, an athlete will listen to whoever is the information is coming from. In my opinion. So,
well, I will take this in arm with you, Ray, and I'll take it even a step further. The conversation can't stop at, oh, she's being interviewed. That's nice. Or even if she gets the job, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Men need to start supporting women in sports fully here. It's not enough for her to get the job.
Yes.
Right. She's going to own that job. And we need to believe in her that that's not even her final resting spot in baseball as just, oh, she got the job. These women in sport want to win. And when I talked about competitiveness a minute ago, just as competitive, right? And here's the thing. I can tell you from the front lines of being an athlete and being around athletes, anybody older that thinks that this is taboo, you're out of touch. Younger athletes have no problem with this for the most part. All right. There's always going to be an idiot here or there. Yes. But I saw this week. A good friend of mine, Mariah Fuji-McGarry, who plays in the ECHL, just won a game for the Kalamazoo Wings against the Toledo Walleye. And so there's a woman goaltender winning at professional sports. All right. And her teammates, Ray, it's a great video. We should share it. Their teammates swarmed her. This is a men's team. Right? This is professional hockey. They swarmed her. They were so happy. I can tell you right now, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, that probably wouldn't have happened. I'm not saying they wouldn't have been happy for her, but it's just, there's too much of a stigma. So things are changing here. We're going to talk about this more. But I want everybody out there listening to hear me say it, and I know, Ray, you stand by this too. Women belong in sports. Women can thrive in sports. And if you have a problem with that, contact us, because I'd love to debate you on it, because I'm really tired of this debate. I have never viewed a woman in sports, even in my job, as a stigma. It's if you have the information, as you said, Ray, that can make the team better, I don't care if you're from Mars. I would like to learn and implement the information. Okay. So I'm hoping that not only is this glass ceiling going to get shattered, but I'm hoping it's really just the start.
Yes. Yeah, no, I mean, we've been seeing this more and more in baseball. Anyway, of course, we're not going to talk about Kim Ng, who, of course, was the general manager of the Miami Marlins. She took the Marlins to their best record in 14 years, 84 and 78. She helped build a team. This is the first time Miami's made the playoffs in a non-shortened season in 20 years, since 2003, the last time they won the World Series. Now, they may have been bounced to the first round, but the Miami Marlins decided to reward her by hiring somebody above her. Basically saying, you were the person in charge, you were the general manager, but now we're going to hire a president above you to reward you for your service. So her contract had an option in it. She exercised that option. She is no longer now the general manager of the Miami Marlins. And I would like to say, as a Yankee fan, I would like both Alyssa and Kim possibly to come to New York and look at the Yankee organization. Please get rid of Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman. I would welcome the fresh viewpoints. Please, somebody fix the Yankees. But anyway, it's not about that. It's about Kim, kind of understandably so. She was very, very gracious, obviously, in her departing comments and whatnot about the entire situation. But it does definitely look, it's a bad look on Miami to hire a gentleman above her after this amazing performance that of her turning that franchise around the last few years.
So a few things about this. I think it's important to note, it's not like she had another job lined up. Like, I think people need to understand the stakes in which she took this action.
She quit with nothing else.
She quit the team. With nothing lined up. This is a person who knows what she's worth. All right. And she has the resume. She also probably knows someone will hire me after this. And if no team hires her,
Yankees,
I might go back to saying screw baseball.
Please, Yankees.
Right. Because what? Hey, we're all about experience, right? We're all about people who have done it. Well, here's someone who's done it. I'm sure there's going to be a few open GM jobs at the end of the year. Why the Marlins thought it would be a good idea to hire someone above her blows my mind. All right. I also want to say this too, and this has nothing to do with her, but I think if Derek Jeter was still with the team, this would never have happened.
I agree too. I agree with that too.
I just think that's horrible. All right.
I think look, a lot of folks were very critical of Jeter as being part of the ownership group, but he was part of the reason why she came to that team as well.
I don't think this ever would have happened if he was still there. The other thing too with this is that I think this is like a little bit of a mind check or a gut check for the listeners or people out there. Is how are you responding to this, right? Like, one of the stigmas around women in sports is, well, she must have been difficult and that's why this happened. Man, if this was a man, you'd be like, yeah, stand by your guard and do what you got to do, man. That's right. They're trying to screw you. That's how I look at it. All right. So, I'm not trying to lecture here, Ray, but it's like, you're going to hear, well, like she must have said the wrong thing or did the wrong thing. No, she did the right thing here. She stood up for herself. She knows what she's worth. Someone else is going to pick her up. And the Marlins, like they always do, descend back out to being irrelevant.
Yep.
All right. This is the Marlins. If there's ever been a baseball franchise that I've disliked, it's the Marlins because of how they treat their fan base, right? You win a World Series, sell the team. You win the World Series again, sell the team. You get a GM that brings you to the playoffs, you get her to quit, right? It's like, what are you, I could never root for that team. And it's not like a visceral hatred like I have for the Mets, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, you idiot, you blew it. So
there are huge problems with baseball in Florida in general between the Marlins and the Rays.
Yeah.
Like this is just two disorganized organizations that between the dump of a stadium in Tampa and the lack of leadership in the front office in Miami.
Literally now.
Quite literally. Yeah, literally now. But it's I don't know what it is down in Florida. I don't know if they're all drinking the salt water off the Gulf or something. I have no idea. Anyway, but this,
As I say, Kim Ing, we salute you. It's also a good time to mention that our producer Caitlin is a woman in sports, a champion woman in sports. That the show would not be possible without.
Yes.
So again, I'm pretty sure our audience agrees with us on this. Women belong in sports. Get over it.
Please go work for the Yankees. Please help the Yankees.
I say the Phillies, but we're pretty.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine.
Oh, as a Yankee fan, I'm upset that the team's winning. Ray, I'm sorry. I just don't have any sympathy for New York fans. I have sympathy for you as your friend, but I have no sympathy for that city in sports.
Fair enough. We'll get into more New York sports later. But first, we want to talk about, speaking of baseball, we're still on baseball. This is a big deal. Baseball, softball, and flag football are being added to the Olympics in 2028 here in Los Angeles, which means for a month I will be hunkered down in my apartment and I won't go outside because I don't want to deal with.
That's actually probably a very good plan, Ray. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes,
come over here.
I was gonna say actually I might just leave the city for a month.
That's your chance to come to Philly and get shot. Anyway,
I mean I could just also go walking down the street here in LA.
Yeah, but it's different.
Yeah,
it's a different type of. Let's not get into it.
Anyway, baseball and football, baseball, softball, and flag football being added to the Olympics. This is a big deal. Tyreek Hill for the Dolphins tweeted about this. He seems excited. I think a lot of the NFL players would actually be on board for this and to be eligible. Like, I think this is a big deal because it's a big deal to win gold for your country. Now, I'm not a big fan of the Olympics. It's not my favorite pastime every couple of years, but I also do appreciate the time and effort that a lot of these athletes put in, and obviously the pride of representing your country and representing America and trying to bring home the gold is obviously a big deal. And I think that I'm curious to see what they do, because obviously this will also be in the middle of the baseball season. It used to be back in the day that it used to be minor league players would go represent the country at the Olympics. I'm curious to see how that all works out. But Lee, what are your thoughts on baseball and now football for the first American football, flag football, but still for the first time being in the Olympics?
So on the baseball front, I'm indifferent because we have the World Baseball Classic. So it's like we already have that, right? So it's like, okay, it's an extra thing they're going to have to deal like what the NHL does during the season. They have to figure out how they're going to work around it.
Well, remember the World Baseball Classic was an answer to the Olympics getting rid of baseball.
Right. So one of them's going to give, right?
Yeah.
But now here's the thing. The MLB might say, nope, you can't go. It's like what the NHL does, right? It's like you can't go. We have our own competition. And if you want to go, it's going to be a problem. So that's going to become a controversy, which is like why I'm like, I don't know how that is. Very glad to hear about softball. All right. I do not know why they took that out in the first place. All right. I think it's a very positive thing to have that sport represented worldwide, much less in the North American area. Now coming to flag football, I think it's huge. I think it's huge for football because I think we forget a lot as Americans. This is not a global sport right now. Okay. No. This is very American and North American. Canada obviously has a league too. Sport. I know that England loves the sport, and then it kind of stops there. There really is no NFL Europe anymore. So, Ray, just from a standpoint of educating people about American football, and, you know, I'm looking forward to the debates of like rugby fans being like, what? Like they don't even hit each other. It's going to raise global awareness of American football. And most importantly, I'm taking this from a coaching standpoint now, you're going to see new athletes around the world get involved in football. And that is going to make for a much better product in the NFL and the USFXL, or whatever they're going to call themselves. All right. It's going to make for a much better product in the future. And you're already starting to see it. I know the Eagles have an Australian rugby player who starts every game, whose name I'm not going to attempt at this moment. But my point is, like, the more people that are playing football around the world, the better. Now, will I be able to watch flag football on TV? We'll see.
Yeah.
All right. But, you know, here's the deal, man. If the USA is playing Canada, which I'd say is probably likely, unless like, you know, New Zealand gets their entire rugby team to play, which is like terrifying.
Yeah.
All right. I'm interested to see this, and I think it's good for the game.
Yeah, I think it'd be good for the game too. I think it'd be good for the Olympics. I think I'm a lot more interested in watching flag football than I am necessarily some of like the track and field events or whatnot. I definitely think there'll be, I mean, again, that's just because I prefer a faster pace and all this other stuff. I think that, I think it's gonna be good for the game. I'm excited to see what happens. I'm excited to see what players are or aren't allowed to go. I'm excited to see how the team is comprised, who's going to coach the team.
There's a lot game too, is flag with no tackling. Yes. I mean, it's about speed, right?
Absolutely. Right. But now also suddenly the Pro Bowl, which started using flag football rules a couple of years ago, now suddenly the Pro Bowl is almost like a warm up for the Olympics.
Right. Right. Well, and here's the thing: is even if we don't see NFL athletes, which I hope we do. But I can understand, like you said, if teams say, "Hey, don't do that." But you know what? You know what my wish would be, Ray? I hope it turns into like basketball, where it's like, you know, there's dream teams, and it's like it's a real honor. Basketball players love the Olympics, right? But a lot of the best players sit out every year. No one minds, right? It's just like, it's not their turn right now, right? You know, like LeBron's not going this year, right? So I would love to see that. I think it's also important, and this could be cool. It's important for America, I should say North America, to show their dominance in the sport. Because if you think about like something like hockey in 1980 and how the Russians were the best team in the world, how that brought us into the picture, you could have other powers come up. Can you imagine if someone beats the USA?
Yeah.
Like some country we don't think of.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
in a weird way, it actually would be good for the sport as a whole. It wouldn't be good for us, but it'd be good for the sport as a whole because it could spark interest elsewhere.
So I would say the NFL would be crazy not to support this. And I think that they will.
I agree.
Not to mention the non-contact. Again, I mean, look, the NFL jumped over the concussion thing somewhat okay. I won't say they did a great job, but this just helps. This helps bring people into the game.
Absolutely. Speaking of football, very interesting week in the NFL this week. There are no longer any undefeated teams. Once again, the Dolphins from so long ago are their perfect season is still intact.
They sighed a relief. Yes.
Yeah. Both the Eagles and Niners.
Well, I couldn't hear
kind of fell in. Well, the Niners fell suspect to the elements in Cleveland. A lot of rain. Brock Purdy had trouble holding onto the ball. And then although they had a chance at the last second to kick a game-winning field goal, it sailed wide right, and they lost to Cleveland, who is Cleveland's competitive. They still have a quarterback problem, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah, they're not a horrible team.
No, they have a good defense, and they still don't have a quarterback who, funny enough, their quarterback went to Tampa, and Tampa is doing okay with Baker Mayfield. How about that? How fast they forgot that Baker took them to the second round of the playoffs, and then they were just like, "You suck," and he's like, "What?"
Yeah, it was a little weird. Yeah. It was a little weird.
But
got too big for the team, I think, is what happened.
I guess, but Cleveland's a weird place. Anyway, yeah, and of course, your Eagles talk about falling into the classic trap.
They played horrible. They played a horrible game. They deserved to lose the game. Ray, here's the deal. I said nobody goes undefeated. It's only happened one time.
No,
nobody goes undefeated. I'm more interested in how both the Niners and the Eagles respond to this, because that's really going to say a lot about who they are. Eagles played a horrible game. They deserve to lose. Yeah. Jalen Hurts had one of the worst games I've ever seen him play. Yep. But I feel like I know this guy a little bit. He's going to bounce back, and he's going to be really sharp next game. And same thing with the Niners. So next week is when I want to talk about these losses, because that's really the key for the whole thing. And look, hey, good on the Jets with what they're doing right now, and they're finding a way to win games without a quarterback. No, I'm just saying they have a quarterback, right?
I mean, but and then too, it's very Cleveland-like. They're really relying on their defense, right? They're not. Right. And Zach Wilson has had flashes, right? And this is what they saw when they drafted him number 2 all those years ago. He's had, he almost outdueled Patrick Mahomes, but they lost at the end of the game. And then, again, really it was the Eagles' offense, like you said. Jalen Hurts
played horrible. We handed
it was his worst game since his rookie season.
I'm not trying to take too much away from the Jets, but this is far more an Eagles loss than a Jets win.
And again, it felt like you guys fell into a trap with looking at Miami.
Well,
next week.
I think it's a couple things. I don't find the Eagles to be not prepared. I think our quarterback had a horrible game. Our defense didn't play that bad. Quarterback had four turnovers. That's very unlike Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, and it's very hard to overcome.
Yeah, we also had some injuries. I'm not making excuses, but we're missing some pretty key guys. Lane Johnson wasn't there. If the elements are right, anything can happen. That's why you play the games. But no excuses. Like, they played horrible. I want to see how they respond. And then look, also, I think what happens is the Niners lose earlier in the day. Plants the seed of why not us. We see this every year. So there's no panic. We are 5-1 in Philadelphia. The Niners are 5-1. We are in a very good spot.
And the Lions are 5-1.
They are.
And technically, I think people said if the season ended today, they have the tiebreakers somehow.
Sure. Well, listen, this is why you never count your eggs in the middle of the season, right? Ever. All right. Like, if you can't be happy with a 5-1 start, you're just miserable.
Yes.
Right? Now, if we lose the next 4 games, that's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Right? Probably not going to happen, though.
Highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. Although the game against Miami next week, I think
that's going to be a great game.
Will be a great game. Tua versus Hurts, obviously both out of Alabama. Yeah. There's some friendly rivalry there.
Oh, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. And then just the Eagles coming off a loss. It's just going to be awesome.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And the Giants lost. What else is new? Moving on. Actually, I'm going to bring the Giants back up again a little bit later, but we'll get to that when we get to that.
Oh,
wow. But that was, God, the season's over. That's all you need to know. 14-9. They couldn't score a single freaking touchdown. And the mismanagement at the end of the first half. I said I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to do it. At the end of the first half, how do you run the ball with no timeouts and 14 seconds left on the clock?
Ray, why would they do that?
Because they're morons.
Why would they do
then
that?
At the end of the game, instead of running the ball with your running back, you pass it with your backup coach. They mixed up the halves. They mixed it up. Instead of throwing the ball at the end of the first half to save time to maybe kick a field goal.
Right.
And then, by the way, if you get that field goal and then you're down only 14-12, then you kick a field goal again at the end of the game. And you somehow win 15-14, but the season's still alive.
To be fair.
This is the sixth time in the last 7 years. The Giants season is over in October.
It's October.
I have no football.
It's early in the year, Ray. No, Ray. To be fair,
ask me if I'm playing music now. I'm not playing music.
I broke
the audio settings.
It's okay. I texted you. I did text Ray after that game, not sarcastic. Like, why would you not run the ball there? I feel like I'm watching the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl right now. Like, what are you doing? Run the ball into the end zone. Hard-nosed football. I don't understand some of these decisions. It's a backup. He'll never see it coming. It's like, guys, run the ball. Like,
even just like an option play. Because I get that Saquon wasn't 100%. I get it. But
run the ball.
Yes, on that
I don't care
play,
if he's 100%.
You gotta just run it in the end zone. Anyway, moving on now to hockey.
I just want to say, Ray, I saw that loading, that Ray rant. For those of you listening, I'm watching him on the screen. I'm like, he's gonna rant. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
All right,
14-9.
Moving off. The Giants suck. Yes.
14-9. How do you? Moving on, I'm going to come back to it. Hockey. We have a new generational talent possibly in the NHL. Connor Bedard. Scoring his first goal, his first point. Still hasn't won a face-off, but people are very excited in Chicago. Yeah. Lee, what do you think about Connor Bedard's first couple of games here in the NHL? Is he going to be the talent that everyone says he's going to be?
Well, I can't tell you that, Ray. I can tell you a few things, though. One is that it's like a new puppy for the entire fan base of the NHL. Like, oh, look, he's doing something. He's doing something. Yeah. I think first off, I think people like Connor Bedard. He typically says the right thing. His interviews are always about the team. He's a good kid. All right. What I see, and I think people don't see, is he's getting some points. He's doing pretty well for a first year, whatever, how old he is, player. All right. I think he's 18. But what people don't see is this, like last game, he got kicked out of a faceoff circle. He's doing some silly things to try and make up some ground. And what I see is a kid who is completely unafraid of trying things. He doesn't care if you're making fun of him. He's trying to be better. He's trying to learn. He's trying to be competitive. Right. So right now, even though I said I can't answer it, that looks like a kid who's going to find his way forward. He reminds me of a young Sidney Crosby. I can't believe I'm saying about it like that. But when the kid was actually a kid, he sucked at faceoffs too. Spent a whole offseason getting better at faceoffs. Became the best faceoff guy in the league. Wanted to have a better backhand. Spent the whole offseason working on his backhand. Has the best backhand in NHL history. He shoots harder with his backhand than most guys do forward. I see that in Bedard, but younger, faster, probably going to have more skill sets. That's not a shot on Crosby. It's just the evolution of a game. I'm having a lot of fun watching this kid. But when I see an athlete trying shit on the ice, on the NHL stage in his third game, that I would be excited if that was on my team. He's not afraid of you. He's not afraid of you. Gold medalist. He's going to bring that Chicago Blackhawks team back to prominence, which I have mixed feelings about.
Yeah. All right. Good kid on a bad franchise.
Good kid. I love seeing when young athletes are not afraid to try. And again, most athletes are, right? They just want to fit in. They don't want to get yelled at. They just want to stay on the roster. He's doing everything he can.
Yep.
That should be a message to any young athletes listening or just people. If you're afraid to try, you're not going to go anywhere. This kid's going to go somewhere. And he's already there. Like I'm acting like he hasn't gone somewhere already in his life. He's like a starting center on the Blackhawks.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the kid's got a good head on his shoulders, and he's got already. I agree. He seems to be showing off a lot of possible talent. So, Bedard. We're still gonna call him Bedard. We're gonna call him that for the next 20 years. Bedard. So, one other NHL story this week. Again, obviously, it's a shame that we're gonna be talking about this instead of all the action, all the home openers, all the teams. But probably the biggest story, aside from Bedard, out of the NHL this week is the banning or pseudo banning of the Pride tape. This, of course, is rainbow colored tape that you would wrap your stick around in the blade of your stick, and obviously Pride representing the LGBTQ community. And the NHL's like, nope, don't do it. We're not doing it. We're banning it. Can't do it. Can't show support for that community on your stick. Lee, what the heck is hockey doing? It started with last year with they were allowing some folks not to take part in the Pride Night, and then they canceled some of the Pride Nights outright.
I'll explain it.
Yes, please do. It seems like a backwards, a wrong side of history decision almost from the NHL.
I will start by saying this with media because it's like right before every season starts, they have to find something to talk about. And it's like that great Forrest Gump. It's like the great Jurassic Park quote, bullshit finds a way.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the deal. I want to start this off by saying right away, I do not like the ban on Pride tape. I think it's a horrible decision. I think it's wrong. Okay. I want to come out and say that. And I do want to give a little history about what's happening here. Okay. Because there's a lot of different avenues in this topic, Ray, that I don't think people know about. But I wanted to make sure people understood that I'm approaching this with this is wrong. Okay. So this started last year. They have theme nights in the NHL, military theme night, indigenous people theme night, LGBTQ plus, theme nights. They have theme nights for different groups to have inclusion because hockey's for everyone. Right. And then last year, Ivan Provorov, who at the time played for the Flyers, they had a Pride Night jersey that he refused to wear, and it went completely national in the media that he was refusing to do this. Now, I think this was somewhat mischaracterized in the way this was happening. And I had friends contact me about it. It's like, don't you dare defend him. And this is what I said. Follow me here. He is a member of the Russian Orthodox Church. I don't know if that's by choice or not, but he basically said to the team, I can't wear this because of my religious beliefs. And he probably didn't say that I can't do this because my family lives in Russia and I don't know what they're going to do to them if I wear this jersey, which is a very legitimate thing.
Absolutely. We saw all the craziness with Artemi Panarin a couple of years ago. That is a serious, legit concern for Russian hockey players.
Panarin left the Rangers for 2 weeks or 3 weeks to fix his family because he said something controversial about the Russian government.
Anti-Putin.
Right. Yeah. So I just you have to accept that fact that Russia works differently. The United States, it's not fair, and there's no courts. You just disappear. Yeah. Okay. So I think there is legit, follow me, people, legit concern from some of the Russian-born players that their families may be in trouble if they wear those jerseys. And you can't just say, screw it, do it anyway. It's not fair. All right. Because if you respect the beliefs of Pride Night, you need to respect the religious beliefs of other people who may not agree with that on the surface, whether you agree with it or not. I don't agree with those religious beliefs, but it's his right to have those beliefs. That's part of the country. Okay. You can't choose what you love or hate. All right. It's open for everybody. So that happened. And it caused a huge controversy. Other athletes in the leagues refused to wear it. So they just said, you know what? We're not going to do theme nights anymore this year. So there's, again, no Pride Night, no military night, no, I'm sorry, I'm saying this wrong. We're not going to do theme jerseys. They are going to do theme nights. I apologize. I said that right. So there will be a Pride Night, but there will be no jersey. Okay. Right. There will be military appreciation, but there will be no jersey.
Right.
For some reason, Ray, within that decision, I'm holding it up on the screen if you're watching. Pride tape was also banned league-wide. Yeah. And it's the stupidest thing I ever heard.
Yeah.
All right. Now, to be fair, it's not, I don't know if to be fair. Gary Bettman came out and said there's been a really horrible misunderstanding with this and that was not our intention. We still donate a lot of money to these groups. We throw money at them, kind of what he said, which is weird. But we donate a lot of money to these groups. We support these groups. We're still going to have theme nights that we want them to feel inclusive. First off, it is great that the NHL is doing that, having inclusive nights, not knocking that. That is something that, again, 10 years ago, never would have happened. Never would have happened. And by and large, most people have no problem with these nights. I've been to them. They're fine. They're great.
Yep. I go to the Dodgers ones in baseball usually because
it's a big deal.
It's just fun.
Yeah. Well, sports have changed in a really positive way in that regard. And I don't want to ignore the positive changes that have happened. You can't just conveniently ignore that if you're on the NHL sucks because they're doing this bandwagon. Okay.
Right.
Now I will say this, taking away an athlete's individual right to represent something they believe in with something like Pride Tape, which by the way, no one was saying they didn't want.
Right.
People were saying we don't want the jerseys because of religious beliefs. Sure. Protect your athletes. I'm going to say it again. I get it. I don't have to agree with it, but I get it. Taking the Pride Tape away, I didn't get. If a player wants to wear this to silently support someone or a family member or a group of any type, I'm not just talking Pride stuff. Why would they not be able to do this? And to the credit of the NHL athletes, and this is where I think some of the older executives at the NHL are severely tone deaf and out of touch. The young NHL athletes say, you know what, we're going to do it anyway, and you can fine us. And I'm with them. I am completely with them. All right. This is a misunderstanding of where people are at today, especially in their 20s and 30s. And it's not limited to that. All right. The world has changed. Yeah. So I do not agree with the ban on this. No one was asking for this to be banned.
Yeah.
All right. Nobody. And again, whether they consciously did it, which I actually don't think they did, believe it or not. I think they stupidly did it.
Yes.
Didn't think about it. Now they got to answer for it. So athletes, I'm with you. I support you if you want to put this on your stick. Doesn't hurt anybody. It's a quick message. Nobody who doesn't believe in this has to do it, right? The problem with the jerseys was it was kind of weird if you didn't do it.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So, support Pride Tape, number one, if you're a hockey person out there, because this is horrible for their business. All right. Yeah. And two is leagues, wake up a little bit. I just saw Bryce Harper with a Philadelphia Fanatic bat when they did the Dreams game or the Little League World Series game. Is that next? You can't support green people. One of the bats was a crayon. Can't have that crayon. I mean, what are you doing, guys? Think. You could justify the jerseys. You had it. You had a reason. And by the way, Ray, all those friends that contacted me because they just want my opinion, They didn't really fight me on it. They're like, I don't like that. I said, I don't like it either, but I get it.
Yeah.
The jerseys. You had that one. What are you doing with the pride tape? What are you doing? If you disagree, comment in a respectful way. I'm happy to debate you. I will not fight anybody online that just wants to be right. If you have a real reason, we're not going to get any comments on this, by the way, because you don't have a real reason why this shouldn't be there. Let me know. I will absolutely do it. But man, I hate it. I just think stupid decision by the NHL. And now you're talking about it. The thing you didn't want to talk about, you're talking about.
Yeah.
But last note, Ray, I do want to shout that these theme nights are very important. They are trying to be more inclusive. They will also say that, hey, our business is hockey. That's the business I'm trying to play in. If you want to be inclusive, it's got to be open for everybody. This was not a problem. This pride tape was not a problem. You just made it a problem for yourself.
Well, I got nothing to add to that because I was going to say, I got nothing to add to it. You summed it up perfectly. Bravo, sir.
Hold on, wait. Let me put some of this pride tape over my mouth, so I'll shut up for the next 5 seconds. Hold on.
Well, while you do that, I will transition now into our next segment, which, as you mentioned, as times have changed and things are changing. Actually, sometimes things are becoming old as new again, or new as old again. We're moving into wrestling. This was a huge announcement last Thursday. Billy Corgan, for those who don't know, the lead singer of the Smashing Pumpkins, is also.
I just lost everybody with that.
Yeah, so I just kept talking over him.
Just kind of trying
to keep going.
Despite all my rage, still just a rat in the cage.
Billy Corgan is the lead investor and owner, CEO of the N.W.A. For those who don't know what the N.W.A. is, it's the National Wrestling Alliance. It was before the days of WWE, and then shout out to our buddy Savvy and his New to Wrestling podcast, where he's watching all the old
New to Wrestling podcast. You're gonna love
the Attitude Era. The NWA was well before the Attitude Era.
It is, but if you wanted to relive those moments from your childhood, check out the New to Wrestling podcast.
Yes.
So
yes.
Go ahead, Ray. Sorry.
The NWA, it was basically territorial, right? Like you had all the different regions, and they all basically operated under. I'll have this region, you have that region. We're not going to interfere with each other. Whoever's the champion of the NWA kind of has to go to all the different regions to defend the belt, but we're all just part of the NWA. And it was very much accepted until obviously Vince McMahon came in, basically bought everybody out, and basically made the NWA just the WWE. We own everything now. Right? And basically Billy Corgan announced several things. First, that he announced a new television contract for the NWA, which is the first time they've had one in gosh knows how long. They've been back around for 4 years. The classic 10 pounds of gold belt that they always used to carry around, that Ric Flair is probably best known for carrying around. And they've been primarily on YouTube. So now they're coming back to television, which is a huge deal. Even though ratings aren't what they once were or matter as much, the money behind television still matters a lot for a lot of wrestling promotions. So even though they're not drawing the Attitude Era, Monday Night Wars era kind of ratings anymore, where it was 5-6 million people a week, now it's more like 1 million people a week per show. Like, it's still a big deal because of the ad dollars. So this is going to be a big deal for help the NWA grow again. But he has also announced a return to the territorial format, starting with an organization that's going to be based out of the Rust Belt, probably based out of Cleveland primarily, but it's going to be a Rust Belt area territory that's going to be led by EC3, who is the current NWA champion. And this is a big deal because he said he's been getting calls from as many as 50 different regional wrestling promoters to rejoin the NWA and bring back the territories. Lee, this is massive. This is beyond massive. This is rewriting basically the wrestling map. Basically, it's showing the WWE. I mean, AEW started that, but this is basically confirming that WWE is no longer the monopoly it once was. That wrestling is prospering in a way that it possibly never has. And this is going to be great for wrestlers. It's going to be great for fans. It's going to be great for television. It's going to be great for everybody. And I cannot wait. Your thoughts?
Well, the environment was right for it to return. It's funny because what Vince McMahon did for wrestling at that time was also brilliant for that time with TV, and that you only had a few channels, and that he centralized everything to one source. and put all the money in that source. With the birth of streaming and streaming going where it was, there is no competition for airtime now. You can watch whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want, right? Again, right, I think back to the Monday Night Wars. It's like you had to choose. We weren't recording that. If you missed it, you missed it. That was it. You had to read about it or hear about it. I mean, I know a lot of people did record, but you know what I'm saying? It was like you had to pick. You don't have to do that anymore. So the environment is correct for something like this to exist, where now you can do everything. And that's why AEW is thriving. That's why the WWE is still thriving, so forth and so on. What I love about what Corrigan is doing, and by the way, I hope that you and I are rich enough one day, like, what do you want to do now? Let's buy a whole wrestling league. Have some fun with that. But like, he's made it into like almost a sports league, which I really like. It's a totally different dynamic. Keeping in mind too, Ray, in the old days, they were televised kinda. Like it wasn't like it is today. Right. It's one of those things where like, well, they can show you everything everywhere all the time. Fans can vote of go to this territory. That's where the belt should be challenged. You have a lot to say, infinite storylines. It's not limited, right? Guys could pop up at anywhere. And then from a capitalistic nature, which Corrigan probably would hate, but from a capitalistic nature, this creates more competition across the board, not just in NWA, but across the board. So wrestling will get better, and it needed to, because one of the things you and I have talked about off the air a lot is just the wrestling is just not as good as it was. Not just the storylines, the wrestling. In some cases, this is not true for everybody. Right. I think wrestling was at its peak in terms of only wrestling right before the Attitude Era. Right. I think that was the most amazing time for wrestling in terms of the sport, if you will. Right. So I think this could bring some of that back. So I love it. I love that the league nature of it. I love that, you'll have your territory that you root for, Ray. You know what I mean? And like that's new, right? You have your wrestlers that you root for, but now you might have a whole territory. You want your territory to win. So
you're gonna have your local boys, and you're gonna have your national guys in the spotlight, and I mean, again, like to your point, back in the day, like if you were in Tennessee, you saw Smoky Mountain Wrestling, and that was about it. And maybe a couple of national things, right? If you were in Canada, you saw Stampede. If you were in Texas, you saw WCCW, right? Like World Class Championship Wrestling. Like you saw these different, you had Crockett Productions, you had all these different wrestling leagues, Florida Championship, Ohio Valley, like they're all everywhere. And like now it's going to be able to, you're going to be able to, obviously the West Coast had
I had this with ECW. Like the little engine that could. I remember, which was in Philadelphia during the height of the WWF and WWE. And it was fantastic. I mean, you had your own, and you would root for those wrestlers because it was Philly wrestling. Sabu, Sandman, Dreamer. I mean, all the guys Head. All right. I mean, it's Al Snow.
The Dudley boys came out of ECW.
Right. You root for these guys. And then sometimes the WWF guys would come down. It was a big deal. So it can work. We know it can work. I'm excited to see what happens.
Stone Cold Steve Austin was born in ECW. He was still stunning Steve Austin in WCW, and then he went to ECW, and he fired. He began the machinations to become Stone Cold, because then of course he went to WWE, and at first he was the ringmaster. But he fixed that real quick.
Thank his wife or ex-wife for the Stone Cold thing.
I think it was it Deborah? Might have been Deborah.
I think Deborah came up with that name. So, or is it Stone Cold ice cream or something like that, or you'll be
Stone Cold beer or whatever.
Stone Cold whatever. Now we all hear glass smashing all the time. It's great.
Yes, exactly. So it's a big deal.
My phone just gave me locations for Cold Stone Creamery because I said something. Thank you, phone. Thank you, Siri.
The devices, they're listening all the time. You know who's also like Stone Cold or just ice cold? It's my New York freaking Giants. They're terrible. And you know what I did as soon as the game ended? That's why I actually didn't respond to your text message going back to earlier, is because as soon as the game ended, I took 2 scoops of cutscene.
Oh my God.
I'm not gonna lie.
What a transition.
2 scoops. Yeah. I went and I took
Giants getting you down. Go to sleep.
I wanted to go to bed immediately. I was so depressed after that game. I had everybody blowing up my phone, and I'm like, I just can't deal with it right now. Double scoop of cutscene.
Ray, this is
out in like 45 minutes.
Are you a Giants fan that's just done with the team?
Yeah.
We've got a discount for you.
Sleep through the whole season
on cutscenesleep.com, and you can sleep through the entire season, as Ray Carcillo just said, restfully, peacefully. You'll feel better the next day, and each and every Sunday, and whatever the start time is, you too can be relaxed and take cutscene sleep. Ray, that's a great. I'm being sarcastic here, but that is a great segue into that for using cutscene.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I said, next I should have just stuck with it when I was with football, but I wanted to get through the sports section first.
It was great. No, we're doing that, right? We're talking about our little cutscene story of the week.
Yeah, no, and I think I actually have two, because like I also took it earlier in the week, and I'll say this: I know both me and Lee are very vivid dreamers. We've discussed this before, but I think I have even more vivid dreams when I take cutscene. I don't know how this happened or why this happened, but it was me, Rob Lowe, and Sonic the Hedgehog having to save San Francisco from Russia. I don't know why that was what I dreamed, but it was fun and it was great, and I was very well rested the next day.
Somehow made a sequel to Red Dawn in your head. I
guess, yeah, right? Like Red Dawn with Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
Like, so Red Dawn, Red 2, I don't know.
Red Green Zone.
Red Green Zone. There we go. That's the name of it. Perfect. Red Green Zone. That's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah,
maybe you should take more cutscene, and I'll be sharper.
Yeah.
When it comes to those
my cutscene story of the week is that we had a hockey game, as you do, and the hockey game was late. I think it started at 10:15. And so just to give everybody an idea what it's like to play adult league hockey, you got to take an energy drink around 7:38 or 9, which is not when you want to be taking an energy drink, but you need it to play. Many of you are going, well, you just don't play. It's not an option. So you take this stuff, you get there, you play the game goes well, you get home, and you are wired beyond belief. And you're tired from playing, but you're on this energy drink. And even if you're not on the energy drink, you're just wired because you just played a very competitive game at 10:15 to 11:30 at night. You probably had a little cold one in the locker room afterwards. So you get home. And so this is where I've actually found cutscene to be really valuable, because it's like 1 a.m. I know I have to be up the next day, and I got to be sharp. All right, this sounds like an ad the way I'm saying it, but this is such the true story. So I take it right when I get home, because it takes like 20, 30 minutes to kind of kick in. And it just puts you in a very restful state. I'm going to say it again. It's not like a NyQuil or something. It's like it really starts to knock you out. You just kind of get tired, like restful, and then you just have a great night's sleep. And when I woke up the next day at 7 or whatever time it was, I just felt like I slept through the night. And that's why I find it so valuable, is that in those times, and it doesn't have to be a hockey game. Maybe the kids keeping me up. I just need to have a good night's sleep. And I got to say this too, Ray. It doesn't put me so deep in a sleep, like I won't wake up, or that I'm groggy, or more importantly, I will wake up if someone touches me, or I got to get up, right? Yeah. It's just that little extra bit that I need to be ready for the next day. So adult league hockey players, you know who you are.
Yeah.
Cutscenes for gamers and us. You should give it a try. And again, this is the addy part, but it's true. We have a great deal with them. They support us. We support them. Go to cutscenesleep.com. Use GWLS at checkout. You'll get a discount on this stuff. Yes. I really am. I mean this. I am endorsing it. I have tried it. I have checked with my doctor. It's great stuff. You will not be disappointed.
Yes. So there you go. Adult league hockey players and depressed Giants fans.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is future Hall of Fame adult league hockey players with potentially the first overall pick in the over 40 league draft next year.
There you go.
I might be the Bedard of that age group right now. It's so not true. I'm not even close, but you know what I mean.
So the Wayne Gretzky of your adult hockey league, men's hockey league.
Wayne Gretzky.
Really depressed Giants fans like me, cutscenesleep.com.
Yeah.
Use GWLS code at checkout. I believe it's a 10% discount. We would appreciate. You're only going to be helping yourself, honestly.
Right. It's important to note too. You didn't go to gaming after the game. You just wanted to go to sleep. But it works for gamers also.
Yeah. I mean, usually I'm playing games, whether it's Assassin's Creed, we'll talk about later, or
we'll talk about that later. Stay tuned.
Yes. But the Giants just really depressed me this week, and I just wanted to go right to bed. So
cutscene was there for you, Ray.
Yes, it was. So moving on. Something else I've been watching late at night is I'm trying to finally start watching TV again, and of course we are watching Loki as it comes out. Loki episode 2 dropped this past week. Lee, some fun Easter eggs in this episode. things starting to move forward again. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm excited to see where they go with it. There's a lot of potential. There's a lot of opportunities here. They kind of bought our boy. First of all, I'm happy to see that Ouroboros was not a one-off, that he is back this week.
Yeah, I mean, he's a character in the show. He's going to be in the show.
He is going to be a main character
he's
going
so
forward for sure.
Well written and acted.
Yes. Yeah. K Kwan is phenomenal. And he plays OB, aka Ouroboros. He is the tech wizard that basically keeps the TVA running. And honestly, it was I'm really curious to see where they go. It feels like so I'll get into a little bit of spoilers here.
Spoiler alert, if you don't watch Loki, fast forward. Spoiler alert, if you don't.
Spoiler.
You got it. Yeah.
Lee, it feels like they bought OB some time to get the loom under control with the events of what happened here in terms of the massive pruning, but that it's obviously still going to be a problem. And now the big thing of this episode is they got Sylvie back on board. The gang is back together, and now it's tackling this massive problem of there's too many timelines. What were your thoughts on the episode?
Well, just generally with Loki, what I love is this feels like Marvel the way it used to feel.
Yeah, this is prime Marvel.
You're invested in the characters. You want to know what's going to happen. And they're creating kind of the sides of the season, right? You're either for the pruning or you're not. I mean, obviously all of us are not if you're a viewer, but like that's the new enemy, right? That they're pruning all these timelines. And I love that we don't know where it's going to go, right? I think that's really exciting and fun. One thing that is interesting to me is we just haven't seen Kang yet. All right. And
we know he's going to be in this.
We do heavily. Like we know, it sounds like next episode would be my guess when he's going to show up. But we don't know how Kang's going to play into this. We don't really know how Sylvie's going to play into this. One of the things I saw a really interesting Easter egg or thought, a theory was that the McDonald's employee, because it's the early 80s, the McDonald's employees might be a young Mobius.
Yeah.
And I really like that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Mobius is clearly from the 90s, the way he acts and the way he's dressed in the jet ski thing. So I thought that would be a really interesting turn. But like my happy report is I don't know where they're going with this. I really don't. I mean, it can go so many different directions. I just like the idea that we know that Sylvie in the future is trying to save the TVA. Now there's a reason they gave us that information.
Yes.
Right. And that's a gutsy thing to give because it means you know where she's going to end up. Now you're investing. How are you going to get there?
Yeah.
Right? That's a gutsy way to write a show because it's like we said, this was the problem with things like Andor. Like, he's going to die. Right. Like there's no fear of him dying on the show because he's going to die. That show had some good stuff and some bad stuff because of that. I trust them with this. I'm really hoping they right the ship with this show. And I'm just happy with the way it's going.
Yeah, I agree. And of course, there were some fun Easter eggs. Of course, the biggest one is that X5 went back and rejoined the Prime timeline as his who he was, named Brad Wolf, who of course is an actual character in Marvel Comics. He plays a character called the Zaniac in a film, who is an actual villain in the Marvel Comics. He was a villain of Thor. And basically the idea is that the Zaniac was actually a dark essence from the dark dimension made by Dormammu and basically possesses the actor Brad Wolf.
You got to say it like they do in the movie. The dark dimension.
The dark dimension.
From the dark dimension.
Yes, and Dormammu. And basically in the comics, and kind of so similarly, basically he plays a villain in this film, and then of course there's a radioactive explosion and all this other bubble stuff, and basically he gets the costume that he's in as a villain conforms to him, plus the dark dimension essence, the dark dimension. He gets like superpowers, and then like everybody realized he was a really terrible character, and they killed him off. Thor killed him 4 years later. He was only around from 1982 to 1986. Thor. Yeah. Thor is okay killing bad guys. Like, I mean, we know this even if you don't read the comics, you know this from the films. Aim for the head. But definitely, so that whole thing I thought was great. A great way to bring in a like very much C-list level Marvel character from the comics, and make it work in a way that just made a ton of sense. Of course, there's also the mention of Miss Minutes and how important she is going to be things going forward. And like you mentioned, Lee, Kang is also going to be very, very important to this going forward, probably because they mentioned that it's his essence for them to get to open the door to the loom in order to fix it. So my guess is that they're going to need a version of him in order to get that done.
We got to remember, not all Kangs are bad, right? Yes. So there's a lot of different things they could do here. I think the frustration for you and I, Ray, is just like we had to wait a whole phase to get here and didn't really accomplish much.
Nope.
And again, my assumption is that they're creating all these teams in Marvel to fight all the Kangs. But we'll see where this goes. I'm enjoying it. I look forward to the next episode every week, just like Quantum Leap, which we'll talk about in the future. And Marvel back on their game. I'm assuming it's because you have original actors in terms of Tom Hiddleston. You have an original character in terms of Loki, goes way back. And I'm going to guess the writing is being done by people who get this stuff finally.
Yeah. I mean, Loki even mentioned the original Avengers film. He called back to it here.
He did. It was really funny scene, actually, but he did that. And I'm glad they did that, because there was a little nostalgic and just as nonchalant, like, I tried to take over New York City with an army of Shintari.
Yeah.
I did that. You did that? Wow.
Yeah, no, it was good. And also, I'm a big fan of Key Lime Pie. I'm glad Key Lime Pie got its spotlight this
you see how beautifully highlight green that was? It wasn't fair.
Yes, it was Loki. It was Loki green. It was perfectly Loki green.
The problem is I've had Key Lime Pie in Florida, like in the Keys, and it's like you can't almost do it anywhere else after that. It's so good down there.
That's fair.
Now I'm hungry. What am I doing?
Yeah, man,
what have I done with my life?
Really want some key lime pie. So obviously that's on Disney Plus. Loki debuts, new episodes every Thursday. And streaming, speaking of streaming services, it's a big reason why Best Buy had a huge announcement this week that they are no longer going to be stocking physical media in their stores. Just further progressing what we've been saying all along is that everything's going to be going digital sooner rather than later.
10 years late.
Yeah.
It took them too long.
Basically, at this point, physical media at best is going to be a collector's item, right? Obviously, there's still a market for it, like places in Walmart and Amazon are still shipping it because there are still, again, collectors for metal books and things of that nature.
And there's a generation that does that still, right?
Yes.
There's an older, it's weird to say that, but there's an older generation that still wants DVDs and they still want physical media because they I don't want to say they don't, they just haven't invested in streaming. I'll put it that way.
Yes. And so but this is Best Buy basically saying, that's fine. We're not going to deal with it. It's not a big enough part of our business. Their business is still obviously selling computers and televisions and appliances and that stuff. The big ticket items is what keeps the brick and mortar Best Buy's open.
High margin items. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So not the, $13.99 CDs and DVDs or whatever on store shelves. So that's a big deal. It was also a big deal in terms of physical media this week. Netflix, who was kind of a big reason why we have the streaming services, announced that they're going to start opening up brick and mortar locations, which Blockbuster, the last remaining Blockbuster official Twitter account, was like, should we tell them how that ends? Lee, they're trying to make it an experience, right? It's almost like a theater. Like they're going to have food, they're going to have like premium stuff happening there. But Lee, do we really need a brick and mortar Netflix store? Because I sure as heck don't think we do.
It's all about how it's done, right? You just kind of hit the nail on the head. Like the problem with Best Buy, before I get into Netflix, is they're dated. A completely dated thing. Like now, again, you and I have had these discussions in the past. I remember when streaming was coming up. The very early years, you and I both were uncomfortable with it because we liked going to Best Buy together to get DVDs and to get music, and we enjoyed that experience. Yeah. People follow me here, right? But I remember then you and I started debating. I was like, well, I'm just going to stream it. And you wanted to keep going, which I understood. So we did, right? But eventually streaming got so good and so prominent that it's like, no, this is way easier. COVID helped with this a lot.
I was going to say COVID accelerated things by a lot. Yes.
COVID accelerated this 10 years easily where you had no choice, right? Now, this is where my mind's at. And this is why either Netflix is going to come out of this looking like geniuses or it's going to fail miserably, which they could totally afford, by the way.
Yes.
What do people miss about going out? They don't miss waiting in line. They don't miss having to wait for things to be on the shelf. They don't miss things being sold out. They do miss the experience. I miss driving with you to the comic store. I miss driving with you to the Best Buy and the movie theater and those experiences. They're not worth it anymore. So the question is on Netflix, how do you make that experience worth it? In season 1 of this show, we talked a lot about how Disney or someone like Disney could buy movie theaters and make an experience of those movie theaters. And I'm telling you this, and again, I'm fortunate to be in this position. I would spend probably quite a bit of money 3 to 5 times a year, if not more, to take my kids to a Disney experience film. It's a gift. You would earn it. It's a special thing that we're doing. It's an experience. Let me tell you, Ray, the experience right now of going to the movies sucks.
Yes.
I have to wait 20 minutes for popcorn or pretzel bites. It's dirty. The only good part of the movies now is the movie. And I can watch it on my gigantic TV at my house.
Yeah.
Build the experience and people will come.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I agree 100%. I did
the field of dreams.
Yes, I know.
The experience. Ease their pain. Go the distance. It works every time.
No, and absolutely. I think again, I still think Disney has the best chance to possibly do something like this as well.
I'm surprised they haven't. But look, Netflix first through the wall, or the time wall, if you want to call it that. But my point is, look, they're trying stuff. This goes back to what I said about Bedard. They're trying stuff, right? I'm interested to see what they do. All right, Best Buy, again, I would love to have seen their balance sheet from the last 10 years. They probably just milked this for as long as they could. I think there's still a place for Best Buy, but I won't be surprised if they're out of business. They waited too long.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens, but I'm interested to see what they do, but I'm very skeptical. I will tell you that right now.
Yeah.
And good on Blockbuster for tweeting that out. That was brilliant.
It was hysterical. Speaking of Disney, real quick, by the way, not on the rundown. I was just curious, Lee, have you seen Once Upon a Studio, the new Disney short they just added to Disney Plus celebrating 100 years? I would recommend that to everyone. It's an 8-minute. 8 minutes. It's celebrating 100 years of Disney animation. 8 minutes. It's on Disney Plus. Totally worth it.
I will say this too, that, and very briefly, Disney and Lucasfilm never get enough credit for the contributions they have made to film. Even though you all know them, you all respect them, they have done so much more. And this is my quick challenge to people. And I'll just use Lucasfilm as an example. Go watch the pod racing scene from episode 1. And tell me it doesn't hold up today. That is 24 years old. I want you to think about in 1999, what you go back to 24 years before. Yeah. And there's no way that stands up in 1999. That gives you an idea how much these people are pushing things right now. Yeah. And now they're the same. Now they're one.
They are one. Speaking
there's
of
balance in the force. Sorry, Ray. Balance. There's balance in the force on that regard.
Yes. Speaking of things that are now one, this is a big deal. This has been in the works for a couple of years now, but finally. Thank you. I know. I appreciate it. I had another one ready to go.
I know.
That one was perfect.
You always do.
That was even easier to go to. Xbox has finally, after all the legal battles have been put aside, and as expected, they were all going to fall by the wayside anyway. All the legal battles did was delay the inevitable. Microsoft has closed the deal on their $68.7 billion acquisition of Activision.
Say that number again real quick.
68.7 billion. Yeah. Or if you want to round up to 69, that's perfectly okay.
That's no fluff number.
That's not at all. That is no small number, my friend.
Fluff number.
No, I am not a fan of fluff. Not at all.
There it is. There's the word of the day. We got to just say it. Our producer just types nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, seriously though, this is by far the largest acquisition in video game history, and understandably so. But now Microsoft, again, we talk about it. Microsoft ain't playing around. They now have Bethesda under their umbrella. They now have Activision, which also includes Blizzard and includes King. So that means like Candy Crush and all that other fun stuff. High Moon Studios, Radical, Toys for Bob. Like this is Disney acquiring Marvel and Star Wars, basically. I mean, it is huge.
Yeah, it's massive. It's a massive thing. And again, as predicted, we predicted this a few years ago that, again, when it comes to the Sony versus, Microsoft, it's not a competition. It's not close.
Yeah.
All right. They are going to win at the end of the day, if you will. right? And it just goes to show you how powerful it is. And people, we're dealing with almost oil level money here.
Yeah.
Like I still don't think people understand how big of a world business-wise gaming is.
Yeah.
What was it, Ray? Again, it was film.
Basically, the
combined, right?
If the video game industry's profits every year are greater than film, music, and the 4 major sports leagues combined every year,
that's insane money.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Like it is. I mean, we are talking upwards of, I think, $200 billion a year as an industry.
They could sponsor this show for 0.0000000000001% of 1 year of their profits easily. I think there's more zeros there, but we don't have so much time.
If Microsoft wants to acquire Geeks Who Like Sports, make us an offer.
Yeah, you can deep fake our faces to be whoever you want. It could be Mark Hamill and whoever.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Oh god, yeah, we could be like Soap and Price from Call of Duty, hosting a podcast.
Let's do it.
Oh gosh. It is a massive industry, and again, this is just the beginning, because look, there are rumors that EA now might be on the chopping block for sale. Obviously, it would probably be something comparable to what it cost Microsoft for Activision. There's rumors that Ubisoft possibly, Embracer Group, which was the big one in Europe, acquiring all the major European studios. They had a deal with Saudi Arabia that went through, and now they're kind of on the fence. So nobody knows what's going to happen with that over there. Honestly, though, it's a good thing. I think it would have been really bad if Saudi Arabia had acquired a massive arm of the video game industry.
Yeah. Yes. I'll just say yes.
Yeah, we'll just we're not going to get into the details on that. You folks can figure it out, but I think that's a good thing that deal fell through in the long run. In the short run, it's costing a lot of people their jobs and a lot of money, but in the long run, it's probably the best thing overall. But yeah, Xbox Activision, that is a done deal. We're going to start seeing Activision games soon, probably on Game Pass. That means, obviously, at least I think they signed a 10-year deal with Sony to keep Call of Duty on there. But once that expires, that's not going to be good for Sony, right? It kind of feels almost like a dead man walking scenario unless they make a big move to counter. Which they have not.
They won't.
At least as of obviously recording of this show. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens going forward with the games industry, and it's groundbreaking and it's earth shaking. So,
well, I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. Well, and again, we talk business on here. When things like that start happening, we'll get into the business side of things because we're geeky about that too.
Yes, yeah, no, it is a big deal. Speaking of, when I mentioned Ubisoft might be one of those studios that's on the chopping block, they're always being shuffled around as one of those more vulnerable third-party folks. And well, they did something. I
love the way you just described them as a vulnerable third party. That's pretty funny.
I mean, that's the thing is that, look, if
it's not untrue.
Vivendi Universal tried to kind of hostily take them over a few years ago. They warded that off. There were rumors of several others. Embracer, obviously them being based in Europe as well as Ubisoft, have been floated around. Again, Sony needs something. So there's thoughts, and obviously all this has been floated around again, but nothing solid as of yet. We brought that up because for the first time in 3 years, a new Assassin's Creed has dropped. They claim a full-fledged Assassin's Creed Mirage. It is a prequel to Valhalla. You follow Basim in 10th century Baghdad, and it is a bit of a throwback and love letter to the original Assassin's Creed with Altair that kicked everything off as we're celebrating. It's been over 15 years now of Assassin's Creed games.
It's crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Lee, as the professional game reviewer, I was not impressed.
Really? Oh, this is a hot take here.
I'm going to say it was okay. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. I'll get my official score out there to begin with, but it's a 7 out of 10 because, first off, they do mitigate it a little bit because they only charge you $50 for this instead of the full 70, which is what was expected. And the reason why is that it feels it's too big to be an expansion to Valhalla, but it's not big enough from what we've come to expect to be like a full-fledged Assassin's Creed. I 100%ed it in less than 25 hours.
But well, hey, look, good on them for the pricing then, because you didn't feel ripped off, is what you're basically saying, which is
no, exactly. But I don't think that this was a necessary story that we needed to be told in the timeline, because we know older Basim in Valhalla. And you learn so much about him in Valhalla. I really didn't need his origin story to play through that. Baghdad was beautiful. The gameplay was also kind of a step backwards. It felt like they very much, this was done by the way, Ubisoft Bordeaux, who was one of the smaller Ubisoft studios. And it feels like a stopgap. It feels like we need to put something out before our next big Assassin's Creed game, codenamed Red, which everyone is suspecting is in, I think it's set in Japan.
It's in Mars, yes.
Which is
everyone place on planet Mars in the future.
No, Japan.
Japan.
What everybody's been dying for from Assassin's Creed, and then they got beat to the punch by Ghost of Tsushima 3 years ago.
I was just gonna say, is that where it's gonna take place? Yeah.
Yeah. But this feels like a stopgap, and even the gameplay and the combat. And Caitlin mentioned hopefully Japan and not Russia. No, not that Red, not that kind of Red. It's only a code name, Caitlin. I do not think it's actually going to be the final name, and I could be mixing it up. There was a Russian assassin, by the way. They did right around the Russian Revolution in 1917. It was one of those side scrollers that came out a few years ago.
That would actually be a good story if they did the Russian Revolution, the Bolsheviks. That would be
if they did it right. Absolutely.
But my gut is they're going to steer clear of that for a few years. I know,
just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
I think so too. But yeah, no, I felt that. It was an unnecessary story. The combat was a throwback to more like the original Assassin's Creed, which meant it didn't feel as fluid as the last couple of games. The climbing wasn't, the parkour wasn't as fluid. And it kind of made me realize, I'll say this, it made me appreciate how far we had come in the series and how much I do not miss the original Assassin's Creed now.
Yeah, that's fair. So
but it wasn't terrible. It wasn't terrible. 7 out of 10. Yeah, again, only $50 helps. Only $50.
That brings your game count up to what?
59. That was number 59 of the year beaten.
All right. It is mid-October. Are you going for 70, 80, 90, 100 this year? What is
75. I'm going for 75 before calendar year.
And what is your most anticipated title before the end of the year?
Oh, Spider-Man. Spider-Man comes out later this week. Spider-Man 2.
One. That's a
Spider-Man 2
answer. That looks
Spider-Man
fantastic.
2. Oh,
yeah. It kills me that I can't get that on my Xbox.
It is the rare Sony exclusive, and I get it because obviously they have the film rights to Spider-Man and whatnot.
They put all their money. You can tell they put all the money into it. I mean, it's a good game. Like I've seen plenty of it, obviously.
Yes.
But it's a good game.
It looks like it's a game of the year contender right off the bat. But it's going to be a great. This is the next 2 weeks. We've got a new Super Mario Brothers game dropping on Friday.
Too. Yeah, Wonder.
Super Mario Wonder. We've got Spider-Man dropping on Friday. And then next Friday, we have the highly anticipated Alan Wake 2 is finally dropping after waiting a decade for that sequel. So, so it's going to be a good finish to the year. Right now, I'm kind of cleaning a lot of stuff up. I'm playing a game called Lies of P, which is a steampunk Souls-like take on Pinocchio. You play Pinocchio.
I mean, I know exactly what you mean, which is great.
Yeah, like you are a swashbuckling Pinocchio, and you have to go through, and you're basically trying to find Geppetto. Yeah, he's not that voice. He's not using that voice. But yeah, and it's punishing, and it's dark, and it's gritty, and it's really good. I don't think it's not game of the year contender. Maybe top 10, but it's very good. Really impressed with that. We got a new Hellboy game dropping tomorrow. So if people are listening to this, it's actually probably already out. Gosh, there's just so many games.
And we should let people know that Ray is going to continue to do some reviews on this show, especially for some AAA games or the odd game that is so good that he has to talk about it. But we're going to be doing a lot of 1-minute reviews with Ray that you can catch on our channel, especially on YouTube. So look for those, because if you're a gamer, Ray, I've never met someone who's played games that has not respected your opinion. I really mean that. And you've been doing this for a long time. And I know people will reach out to Ray to say, should I get this? Should I play this? And he has always given a New York truth answer of yes or no. Like, don't buy that. Or you got to get that. So keep an eye out for those coming to the show soon.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, there's a lot. The new Forza just came out this past week. which I'm also playing, which is actually a great way to relax because I love just driving around in circles and listening to podcasts like Geeks Who Like Sports.
I just watched Gran Turismo, the film.
How was that?
It was good. Like it wasn't bad. I enjoyed it. It was fun. It moved. It's got some drama in it. I thought it was good.
I like David Harbour.
I do too. A lot. Yeah. For those of you who watch Stranger Things, you're a big fan of him. But I'll tell you, look, if you're a diehard racing fan and a diehard Gran Turismo fan, I'm sure you're gonna look at it and be like, that's not the way it was, or this is not. As someone who was not in that world, really enjoyed it. It's a great story about an underdog that's not supposed to be there and nobody believes in him, and his grit and determination to make something happen. Very pro gamer in the film. Like they really talk a lot about what this does for gamers. Which I really appreciated because they didn't have to do that. They could have made it like it's just one kid, but they really support it. But yeah, Gran Turismo was I enjoyed it, right? It was good. It's not the best film I've ever seen in my life, right? But it's good. I watched it. I probably won't rewatch it. It's worth a watch if you have the time.
Fair enough. Well, right. I still need to get to Ahsoka at some point, so that's first.
You do need to get to Ahsoka so we can do a full spoiler episode on that. I really need to talk to you about Ahsoka. I would really appreciate it if you would hurry up and watch Ahsoka. Please. Okay. Acolyte's coming out sooner than you think. There's more shows coming.
Oh boy. All right. I'll get caught up. Right.
To end the show, should we test the new Spider-Man headphones?
You know what?
All right.
Save them for the mashup.
Ooh, I like what you did there. You want to see him work? You got to come to the mashup coming out this Saturday, or if it's out already, you can listen to it now.
Yes. So there you go. So that does it for episode 3 of season 2 of Geeks Who Like Sports.
Get a t-shirt. Go to Instagram and get a t-shirt. Go to
Instagram, comment, follow us, all that fun stuff. Go there. Pick up some cutscene. Get some cutscene at cutscene. You know what I did is I combined it. Cutscenesleep.com.
Yes.
And use code GWLS.
It's worth it, people. I'm not kidding. It is so worth it. Check it out. Just one bottle, you'll be like, I'm so glad I did this. What does a good night's sleep cost? Exactly one bottle of cutscene. And use GWLS code at checkout for 10% off. Because that helps us, obviously. If you're gonna do it, don't do it without doing that, you jerk. It's too aggressive. It's too aggressive. Whatever works for you. Take your cutscene. Right. Sim it down. GWLS at checkout. Yes. But no, thank you everybody as always for watching and listening. We really, really do appreciate it. It means a lot. We would not be here again without all y'all. So yeah, please go to the socials, follow, download the episode, check it out. 5-star reviews, wherever you're listening to us. It's a big deal and it does help us. We really appreciate it. We hope you all have yourselves a great week. We will be back with more Geeks Who Like Sports next week. Again, stay tuned to the socials. We're going to be sprinkling some other fun stuff throughout the week. Until then, though, that's Lee. I'm Ray. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next week for more Geeks Who Like Sports.